And welcome to the QCast. This is four. Season four. Sorry about that. I got confused. Season four, episode 3. And this is someone in the D3 world I've been meaning to talk to for a long time. We watched this individual succeed as a player in a huge way. We're going to talk about that. This is someone that is associated with Division III basketball, and that is Aaron Toomey, the head men's basketball coach of the University of Hartford. Aaron, welcome to the QCast. How the heck are you doing today?
Doing great, Bob. Thanks for having me.
Um, Really fun time of year, right? I know that, with the new rules, you're able to practice a little bit more. It feels like the season has started a little earlier now because we're hearing stories about teams practicing. Where are you guys at right now? Have you been able to take advantage of some of the earlier practices, or where do you guys stand, Aaron?
Yeah, we have. We're 6 practices in, and like you said, it's made it feel like the season's gotten here quicker than it has in the past, which is exciting. And for a new group and a new program here at Hartford, it's been really beneficial for us to get on the court with our guys.
Such a cool story to talk through with both you and the program, and kind of the two of the things coming together here at this point. I was listening to several months ago your Around the Nation podcast with Gordon Mann from D3hoops.com. I encourage everyone to check that out. We'll cover a lot of the same things, but Gordon did a great job with that. I think it was from this past May. So check that out. But let's kind of first talk about your program here. We'll dig into you and your background. But this is one of these rare moments where a Division I men's basketball program is moving to Division III, and we just don't see that a lot. It's happened, but it's very, very rare. First, for everyone that doesn't know a lot about the program and the school, give us a little context, even though you weren't around when those decisions were made, I'm sure, but the context of why the move for Hartford to Division III. We're all thrilled about that, by the way, but what's the why behind that as far as you understand it?
Yeah, I don't have the full story. Like you said, I wasn't around when that decision was made. I think naturally the financial piece was a little bit of the decision. But for me, coming into the program and having the opportunity to kind of build from the ground up with Division I resources, facilities that we have that have kind of carried over with the transition is pretty exciting. So I think there's a lot that went into the decision here at Hartford, but it's allowed, me to come in and take over a program and, have a lot of positives on hand in terms of resources, facilities, things that we have to work with that, I think long term can make us pretty tough and a program that can compete at a really high level.
And tell us where you guys are. I know that you don't just snap your fingers and all of a sudden you're playing Division III and eligible for the tournament. As I understand it, this season will be Hartford's first as a full-time Division III member. That said, I think there's still certain limitations, and you're kind of on a multi-year journey. Can you walk us through what that journey looks like and where you are along it?
Yeah, so last year was kind of the first year in the transition. We still played a Division I schedule under the old staff, and basically the first year basically was you can't bring any scholarship players in. So the freshman class last year was not on scholarship, athletic scholarship. And then obviously this year we make the full transition over to playing a full Division III schedule, and we still have 2 years where we can't go to the NCAA tournament. We're ineligible for that, but after the 2-year stretch here, we'll be full-time members and eligible for everything.
Roster wise, more questions. So, if there were student athletes that were on scholarship that are returning, I assume they're no longer on scholarship, or maybe they all left, or just to help us understand what happens with the scholarship guys versus the non-scholarship guys and all that stuff.
Yeah, so there was the opportunity for the scholarship guys to remain on scholarship for one more year this year. For us, we did not have anyone return on the team. So when I took over in May, there were 0 kids on the roster. We had 1 kid kind of circle back later in the summer and decide to stay. So we have 1 returnee from last year, and other than that, a full new group. So that's kind of where the roster stands, and kind of where we're moving forward, what we're moving forward with.
So this is really unique. this is not a situation where you're taking over a team that won 18 games last year and returns, two sophomores and three juniors. I mean, you literally, I mean, outside of the one who decided to come back, you are starting from scratch in a brand new Division III program. And you were hired, what, in about April? Is that right? Last April?
Late April, early May. Yeah. Kind of officially got going early May.
April, May. And so talk about the effort then to construct your roster. Obviously, you've probably spent most of your time since you got the job in some form or fashion with recruiting. So talk about how you've gone about recruiting and how that's going and where that goes next year and the year after.
Yeah, it was crazy. When you take over a program in the summer and there's no one on the roster. Where I've been at Amherst and Rochester and Vassar, those schools pretty much have a firm May 1st deadline, where if you haven't made your first deposit on May 1st, there is no recruiting beyond that. So
right.
I've really had no experience until this summer recruiting past May 1st. So that was a whole new ball game for me. But we've made big strides. We have 15 guys on the roster. 12
Wow.
of them are freshmen. We have the one returnee plus two transfers that have come in for us, and so it's a really young, fairly inexperienced group outside of the three seniors, two of which are transfers. But I'm excited about our group. I think we have a good group of young guys, and especially with the hand that we were dealt, in May, I think we did pretty well. And I tell people all the time, I think I spent more time on the phone and talking to coaches and recruits in the months of May and June and early July than I did in the 9 years coaching prior to that. So it was a lot of time and effort that was put into building the roster, but we have an incredible group of guys. We have 12 freshmen that are just great dudes and some really talented guys to go along with it. And I'm excited about what we can do here and what we can build. I think this year naturally we'll have some youthful mistakes as we go through it, but we also have some talented kids, which I'm excited to work with.
This first year, your recruiting efforts, I'm sure it was just kind of a mad dash. I can't even imagine. As you start to now get into next year and the year after, where you can take a little more of a deep breath, not that you won't feel that way for several years, I'm sure, but what kind of young men are you looking to bring into the Hartford program? Like, what's the model that you're trying to kind of build around?
Yeah, I think we're unique in the sense that we have, like I said earlier, Division I facilities in terms of our arena, our locker room, varsity weight room, things of that nature that I haven't had at the three places that I've been. And the places that I've been are really high level programs, and they've had a ton of success. And I have no doubts that Hartford can get to that point with what we have to offer. The campus is beautiful. The academic side of things is strong, and then what we have to offer from a basketball standpoint is different from most, if not any, that I've seen in Division III. I mean, mostly in New England, but I've played at a lot of different places, and I haven't seen an arena like ours at our level. And I've watched a lot of games online, and I think ours is different. Ours is unique, and that's not, they've changed a lot of things with the transition from D1 to D3, but there's certain things that they really just can't change or can't take away in the arena and the locker room and the weight room, and those are some of those things. So I think from a recruiting standpoint, we are going to recruit at a really high level, and we're going to recruit kids that talent wise that I would have recruited at Amherst and Rochester and Vassar, and hopefully quickly get a couple classes of guys that fit that bill and can compete at a really high level sooner rather than later is the goal and hope.
It's a great point. You guys were Division I, and all of a sudden you're Division III, but you still have you got the same gym and the same facilities, which is a huge draw, right? So you're bringing kids in and they're seeing these facilities that look different than what they're seeing at the other D3s that they're going into. So that's huge. Just curious, your two transfers. I haven't seen your roster yet. I don't know if your current roster is up there. Where are the two transfers from, if you can share that?
Yeah, one of them's from the University of Bridgeport here in Connecticut, D2 school. Good player for us and will be this year. The transfers and the one returner, the three seniors that we have are just going to be so important from a mentor perspective and guys that have been through it at the college level for the young guys. So they'll play a large part on the court, but maybe even a bigger role off the court in terms of helping guys get acquainted with the college game and the level and kind of what it's all like. But he's from the University of Bridgeport, and then the other guy is actually from Amherst, a guy that I recruited to Amherst when I was still there, and he graduated from Amherst, and we talked over the summer, and he was, he still has a year of eligibility, and we've stayed kind of close throughout the whole process, and I followed his career, and he wanted to play another year and get his master's degree, and kind of worked out perfectly. So it's kind of come full circle with him, which is cool.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's going to be great to watch how you go about recruiting, and I do know how challenging that must be to really be starting from scratch and trying to put this together. So it's going to be fun. Let's talk a little bit about your background here. First, we'll talk about your coaching background. So you mentioned that you were at Amherst as an assistant for a while, right? So you were at Amherst, and then you had that season where you were even the interim head coach. I think that was 1920. You were at Vassar during what I believe is the COVID year, and I don't think there were any games played that year that you were on the staff at Vassar. And then, of course, the last 2 years, you've been under Luke Flakertzy at Rochester, which must have been incredible. So you've got some incredible coaching experience between Amherst, which is your alma mater, Vassar, Rochester. Talk about that journey as an assistant coach that's helped lead you up to this point in your career as a head coach.
Yeah, I've been as lucky as anyone out there to be able to learn from some of the people that I've worked with over the last 9 years. Obviously Hicks at Amherst, one of, if not the best, at the D3 level, and now a Hall of Famer, which is crazy to say. But spending a lot of time with him, almost 9 years, 8.5 years or so with him as a player, and then as a coach, was pretty incredible. And then Ryan, me at Vassar, we obviously, it was COVID year, and we didn't get the chance to play games, but it allowed us, him and I, to spend a lot of time just talking hoops and talking schemes and things of that nature. And he has a really, really cool background as well, being at Davidson for a long time as an assistant, and bringing some cool stuff that they did up to Vassar. So I feel like I learned a lot from him, and it felt weird to leave without playing any games or coaching any games. But he was actually a Rochester alum, and was like, dude, you kind of have to take it. Like, I don't want you to go, but he was the guy that kind of talked me into taking it with Luke up at Rochester. And then obviously he's done an incredible job up there, and spending 2 years with him was really good for me too. So I tell a lot of people, I think I was ready in 2019, 2020 to be a head coach full time, but the opportunities to go elsewhere and learn from Ryan and learn from Luke at Vassar and Rochester, I think really took me to a new level as a coach, and really prepared me even more for this opportunity here at Hartford.
With that exposure you've had at the highest levels of Division III, when I think about especially Amherst in the NESCAC and Rochester in the UAA, not to mention Vassar, but just in particular those two leagues, like you understand. I mean, you've won a national championship. You understand what it looks like at the top of the mountain. That's gotta help as you start to build a program. Just talk about like what that experience of seeing great Division III basketball, what that means to you now as a head coach.
Yeah, I think it's really important. Like you said, I've been there. I've done it as a player, as a coach, been to Final Fours, been to NCAA tournaments, and experienced that, and experienced what it takes to get to that level. And when I talk to our guys here at Hartford, and they're all 12 of the 15 are freshmen, and trying to get them to understand what the level's like without ever having played a game, and a lot of them probably never even watched a game at the D3 level. So helping them understand what the highest level of Division III really is, and how competitive it is, how talented the guys are. So trying to use my experiences to help our young guys kind of, before they get into the heat of the season here, understand kind of what it's like and what it's going to take for this program to get to that level.
You guys are going to be playing in the Commonwealth Coast Conference. So good league, of which last year, like Nichols was a tremendous team. They were a Sweet 16 team, won 26 games, I believe. Talk about heading into your conference. So the Commonwealth Coast Conference, talk about what you know about the league, and some of the teams and programs in there.
Yeah, I know quite a bit about the league just from my time at Amherst in New England. You kind of get a feel for, your out of league games, and the NESCAC, you obviously play a lot of them. So we're playing a lot of the teams in the CCC when I was at Amherst. And obviously we played Nichols last year at Rochester, and I've kind of followed them as they've kind of gone on this big run in the last 5, 6 years. So it's a really competitive league. There's some really good coaches. I know a lot of the coaches in the league already, and it's going to be competitive. It's going to be tough. And especially here in year one with such a young group. But I think as we continue to grow and with the types of guys that I think we can recruit and the level I think we can recruit at, I think, it's, sooner rather than later, my expectation is to be right in the mix at the top of the CCC.
Scheduling is always tricky. We have a lot of these QCast episodes where we talk about the importance of strength of schedule, and the ability to find games is important. As you start to get moving forward here, I know you're just taking over. What kind of non-conference schedule do you want to play year in and year out? Are you looking to get some NESCAC, some UAA, some of the other East and Northeast powers? Talk about like how you're going to go about your scheduling as you move forward.
Yeah. So obviously this year was a little crazy in May. We had none of our non-conference games scheduled. So it was really calling around anybody that wants to play or has an open game. I'm in. So that's kind of how it went this year. I think moving forward, the scheduling piece is becoming, like you said, really important. And I think, the goal is to put ourselves in a position where we could potentially get in that large bid if we don't get an automatic bid. So I think in our league, we have a really good league, but we're going to have to play a really, really tough out of league schedule to put ourselves in that conversation. Or anywhere close to that conversation. So, within the next few years, starting to schedule some NESCAC, some NUMACs, some of the top of the Little East, maybe even, some of the UAA teams up this way with Brandeis, Rochester, NYU, schools of that nature. And then maybe, a couple years down the road, taking a trip somewhere to play in a tournament or things of that nature to help us strength the schedule wise as well. So, you kind of hit the nail on the head with how important it is, and almost seemingly becoming more and more important every single year. So that's going to be, as we get to the point where we are eligible for the NCAA tournament, making sure our schedule puts us in a position to potentially have an at-large bid if we don't win the automatic bid from our league.
No better evidence of the importance of strength of schedule than a guy coming from Rochester, right? I want to say the famous 640 something winning percentage, but the craziest SOS in a long time. Like you saw last year, as you guys are sitting on that bubble, that you got in because you had the strength of schedule, you had great wins, you had the results versus regionally ranked. I mean, so you don't even need any selling on this, do you, Aaron?
No, I kind of lived it last year with Luke and Chris on staff and the rest of our team and program. We sweated through the last few days before the selection show, but with an SOS that's really almost never been seen before, certainly was what got us over the edge and got us in last year.
I wanted to ask you, get a little more detail about your coach at Amherst, Dave Hixon. I mean, what a story here. So he was just inducted into the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame with the 2023 class. Amazing accomplishment for everyone tied to Coach Hixon, including the whole D3 community. I think that he's the first person to ever be inducted as just a D3 coach, a guy that was in Division III his whole career, 826 wins, 738 winning percentage, national championships. If you could talk a little bit about like Coach Hixon's style and what made him such a successful coach.
Yeah, I think the first thing that I want to touch on is kind of what you mentioned a little bit, is just how important Division III was to him. He had opportunities to make the jump to Division I and to go elsewhere, but he loved Amherst. He loved Division III and loved everything that came with Division III and the opportunities that it provided to the student athletes. So he stuck around Amherst and then obviously had an incredible career. But I'm not sure there's someone out there that loves Division III and continues to love Division III more than Hicks does. He texts a big group of us. Matt Goldsmith, Kevin Hopkins, Luke, myself, a bunch of the coaching tree after every game, and he's watched every single one of our games. If we're all on at the same
Right.
time, he's got 2 or 3 screens going. So he just loves it, and I think speaks volumes and is a great ambassador for Division III as a whole. But as a coach, I mean, like I said, I spent a lot of time with him as a player and as a coach, and I think he's obviously really smart when it comes to basketball and X's and O's. But I think what separates him is the way that he can build relationships with his assistants, with his players, with the recruits that he's talking to. Was incredible, and I go all the way back to when I was coming out of high school, and he was on the phone with me, once a week, if not more. And at the time, I was looking, every level, all over the place, all over the country, but there was no coach out there that put more time and effort into recruiting me than Hicks. And he built that relationship, and I think I was a quiet kid in high school, so every time the phone rang, I was like, oh man, this guy again. But by the time it got to my senior year and decision making time, I kind of sat back and I was like, man, I don't have a relationship with any of these other coaches like I do with Hicks. And that was one of the main reasons that Amherst was the place that I chose in the end. And I'm not the only one with that story. I know, the way he builds relationships and builds trust within those relationships is unique. And I haven't, I've worked with, a lot of different people and a lot of great coaches and guys that do that at a high level, but no one reaches that level that Hicks had, and the way he was able to communicate and relate to people, even when he got older, when he was, in his 60s and trying to have conversations with guys that are 18 years old, 17 years old. Sometimes that gap is tough, but he always found a way. And he was incredible with the way that he communicated with people and built relationships. And that goes a long ways. When the players can trust the coach and vice versa, and you have those kind of relationships, that goes a long way on the court, and is a big reason why he won so many games.
I know from an X's and O's standpoint, just offensively and defensively, that coaches pick up things every stop of the way. So I know that there's things that every place you've been, there's something that you're influenced by. I'm just curious, is there anything in particular, either offensive or defensive X's and O's that you'll implement now that you're a head coach at the University of Hartford from Coach Hixon?
Yeah, there are. There's some things on the offensive end that I think he was early in the process of kind of the 4 out, 1 in, shooting more threes, things of that nature. He made that adjustment, I think, sooner than a lot of other coaches that were still playing 2 bigs at once, and trying to beat teams in the paint and things of that nature. So some of the X's and O's stuff will certainly carry over, along with things that are kind of my own. But I think even more than the X's and O's piece is just the freedom that he gave his players, and not. I think it's hard as a coach not to overcoach and want to have your hands in everythand kind of in control. But what Hicks did really well was just kind of set a groundwork and let the guys go. And we had structure, obviously, but he wanted us to use our talent and our IQ to, make it really tough for opposing teams to know what was coming. There's some teams out there that are so structured that it's easier to scout. I think with our teams, it was, they're really talented, and sometimes it looks like they're just out there playing. There's structure and spacing aspects to it, but I think he had the understanding as a coach to sometimes just take a step back and be like, my guys are really talented. I need to let them just go play sometimes. So I give him a lot of credit for that too. Yeah,
and it just huge congratulations to Coach Hixon on again the call to the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame. Pretty incredible stuff. I wanted to also ask you about your playing career at Amherst. Pretty incredible. You're the all-time leading scorer at Amherst, 2,033 career points. You were the 2014 D3Hoops.com Player of the Year. You led your team to the national title in 2013. D3 Hoops named you to the All-Decade team, the first team for the 2010s. Your 2013 season, where you guys went 30-2, 10-0 in the NESCAC. You won the national title. You were 17 points a game, 5 rebounds, 5 assists. You shot the 3 at 423. I mean, you really had just a very storied career. And talk about what it was like playing at Amherst, and especially what it was like winning the national championship.
Yeah, I think playing there under Coach Hixon was obviously really special. And there was kind of one goal in mind when I chose Amherst, and that was to win a national championship. My commitment to Amherst was I was between a few different schools, and I was sitting in class one day, and this was the early ages of cell phones. So cell phones in class were a hard no back then, as I'm sure they still are. But I pulled out my phone, and I had just been thinking about it for days and days, and finally came to the realization that this was it. And I pulled my phone out and I texted Coach Hixon. I said, "Coach, I'll call you later and do this the right way, but I'm coming to Amherst. Let's go win a national championship." And that was always the goal. The goal for me was never score a certain amount of points, never get the personal accolades. It was to win a national championship, if not more than one. And winning one was pretty special. We had a unique group that year that was maybe not even the most talented group that I had in my 4 years as a player at Amherst, but one that just came together and was kind of had the same mindset and the same goal across the board. And that's what allowed us to get it done in the end. We obviously had a certain level of talent, but it was guys coming together and playing for each other, and no one cared what the box score said after the game.
Right.
It was all about, hey, like, if we score more points than them, that's all that matters. And that was a full team across the board thinking that. And that's rare. The more I'm involved in basketball and coaching, and it's rare to have a full team. Even the guys at the end of the bench knew their role. It was to be loud and energetic on the bench and supportive and things of that nature. And when you have, I think we had like 18 or 19 guys on the roster that year. When you have that many guys bought into it, and you have the talent on top of it, it's going to take you a long ways, which it did that year. So it was a special season, and I always say it was a good year to be good, because it was the year that the D1, D2, and D3 were all in Atlanta together, and we kind of got the special treatment that D3 guys usually don't get, and it made it even more special for us to be there and to win it.
Yeah, that was one of those the year where the Elite Eight all went to Salem, right? And then the final two. And remind me, who did you guys beat in the national championship game?
Mary Hardin Baylor.
That's right, Mary Hardin Baylor. Yeah, that I have all these years and teams. I think North Central from the CCIW was in that Elite Eight. And I want to say was Middlebury also in that Elite Eight?
They were, and we played Cabrini as well down there. So it was crazy. We had two very different games. We played Cabrini, and it was both teams scored over 100. And then the next night we played North Central, and it was physical. It was gross basketball. And I think it was like 52-48 final. So we won with 106 points, and then we won with 52 points the next night. So it was kind of a crazy back-to-back.
Yeah, that's 2013. I think we lost at Illinois Wesleyan lost at North Central in the Sweet 16 at their place. They were big and physical, and so knowing that you played a game in the 50s doesn't surprise me, because they were a tough team. I wanted to also ask you about TBT, the basketball tournament. You've had some fun with that as one of the leaders of the nerd team, and you and Matt Goldsmith, your running mate. I don't know, is one of you the head coach and someone's a general manager, or what are the actual titles here, Aaron, between you and Matt?
Yeah, so we're co-everything. So we're co-GM, co-head coach, and we've alternated every year. So the first year, Goldie was the head coach. The second year, I was the head coach. This past year, Goldie was the head coach. Next year would be my turn. So we kind of alternate everything. We do everything 50-50 for the most part, whether it's recruiting or fundraising or things of that nature. It's very split down the middle. Even when we get there and we start to do the coaching piece of it, obviously one of us is standing, one of us is sitting on the bench, but it's very much 50-50, and it's been an awesome experience for both of us.
How did you get into that? So what was the decision like to give that a go, and just talk a little bit about how that evolved?
Yeah, so we had both followed for a long time. Obviously, in the summer, as basketball guys, basketball junkies, you're finding ways to watch basketball. Right. And TBT was that for a long time, and I actually played on the first ever D3 team with Reg, and had a cool experience there. And we always, for a few years, Goldie and I had talked about putting a team together, and it was always, can't find all the time that we need to do it. And then COVID hit, and when COVID hit, he and I almost like immediately, when we realized we weren't going to have a season, we were going to have a little bit more time, we got on the phone and we were like, if we're ever going to do it, like, this has got to be it. Like, the first year is going to be the most work of any year. Once you get it rolling, it's a little bit less every year. So we decided to go all in during COVID and put it all together. And obviously with our backgrounds, both going to Amherst, being in high academic schools, the nerd team kind of made sense. And we didn't want to get involved with the D3 world because Reg kind of had that already. And we knew from working camps at Yale, Harvard, Princeton, Penn, Dartmouth, we had connections with those coaches and those programs a little bit. So we kind of figured the nerd team made sense, and we could pull from some of the top academic schools in the country at the D1 level. And our big goal is to prove that you can do both, right? It's you can play college, you can play basketball at a really high level. You can do the academic piece at a really high level and get one of the best educations in the world, and continue to play basketball after. Where most of our guys, graduated from Ivy League schools or top academic schools and are playing overseas. And, we want to prove to young kids out there that you can do both at a really high level, and you don't have to pick one or the other. That both is very, very realistic and doable.
And you guys played well this year. You won a game, you lost, I think. Did you lose to Boeheim's Army in round 2?
We did. Yeah,
so
we did.
Played well, made some noise. It's a collection of guys that are from high academics, Ivies, Patriots, those kind of leagues. Do I have it right that your old running mate Willie Workman was he on your roster this year? And he's like your class at Amherst about, isn't he?
Yeah, he's actually a year older than me. Graduated a year before me at Amherst, and Goldie coached him. I played with him. I'm still, he's one of my best friends out there, and follow his professional career, very closely. And to get the opportunity to just see him in the summers. The summers are short and don't always get the chance to see him when he's back. But see him and be able to coach him and work with him and go to battle with him was pretty special, and really cool experience for all three of us.
That's awesome. That's really cool. And again, congrats on the success with what you've done with the nerd team, you and Matt. That's been really cool. Just to kind of bring it back and start to wrap up, bring it back to Hartford. How many years did you say that you're not eligible for NCAA? This year you're not? Next year? Okay, yeah. 2 years. So as you start to dig in now with your guys and you have this young group that you've recruited, you're going to be adding more recruits. How do you energize that group? Because it's very rare that you don't have that finish line in your mind. Every kid that's going to roll out the basketballs here in October and start a season is thinking about the tournament, even if they say they're not. They're thinking, boy, could we win our conference? Could we get into the tournament and make a run? You guys don't have that path for a couple of years. How do you keep your guys energized into kind of the things that you can control the next couple seasons here?
Yeah, I mean, everything that we do is competitive. Almost everything we do in practice, there's time and score, and there's not a whole lot that I think me and our staff have to do, because we have a group that's super competitive, and they love hoops. They love being in the gym, and they want to get in there and they want to compete. So it's not like, obviously we'd love the opportunity to have that at the end of the season and have the opportunity to go to the NCAA tournament, but we're going kind of just every day right now, day by day. Every day is competitive. Every day is, we're getting in the gym, we're getting better. And for these young guys, obviously there still is that end goal, when they're juniors and seniors, there is that, can we get to the point where we're good enough then to, go to the tournament, make a run then. So there is that end goal for those guys. But, with the three seniors we have, we're gonna go into this season and just try to win as many games as we can, be as competitive as we can. And like I said, it's not that difficult for us right now, I don't think, because of the group that we have and how competitive they are, which is nice, obviously, as a coach in this situation.
You're right. It is a kind of a cool and unique thing to be part of something like this, where you're not eligible for a couple of years, but can you build yourselves up to where before some of those guys leave, that they get to experience that level of success? That's kind of a really big dream that's attainable, with the right kids and with the right work ethic and development. Some of those guys that are coming in could see that before they leave. Again, I really I'm excited, Aaron, for the opportunity in front of you, and to have someone that's been such a big part of Division III in this opportunity to take a Division I program and now build it into a Division III program. I guess it's a source of pride for all of us that are huge D3 people like I am. As you think about this season upcoming, and then we'll just share some final thoughts. Anything in particular keys to your upcoming inaugural season as the head coach at the University of Hartford?
I think for me, it goes back to what you just talked about. Division III has meant so much to me, and had such a big role in my life, obviously as a player and a coach, to take over a program from scratch and kind of build a Division III program from the ground up is pretty unique and special. And one of the reasons that I took this job and took this opportunity and this challenge on, was that, because I'm similar to Hicks, and he instilled this in me. It's, Division III is really unique and an incredible opportunity for the student athletes. And I want to do my best to give them the opportunity and the experience that I had at Amherst. And, for this group, it's just compete at a really high level every single day. And that's what we're trying to instill as coaches. And, some of the best players that I've ever known, including myself, it wasn't about the talent that you had. Like, I think, Willie Workman being a great example, and even myself, like, there's got to be a certain level of talent, but it's not about that. You're successful by how much it means to you, how much you care, how competitive you are, and trying to instill that into our guys each and every day is kind of our biggest overarching goal this year. Get them to a level of competitiveness and desire just to go out and compete with their guys, every single day. So that's kind of what we're looking for this year from our group.
Well, I'll just say on my end, then I'll ask you to close us out with your final thoughts. It's awesome that you finally got the opportunity. Your name was obviously kind of at the top of lists when people think about, like, who's the next head coach out there. And I know your name was always floating around for that type. So this seems like the right place at the right time. It's a great opportunity. It's a really cool opportunity. Wish you the best of luck. It'll be cool someday when I'm making my top 25 ballot to start to think about Hartford. When that day comes, I think that will cool. Especially the day will be cool where, whenever it happens, is we see Hartford on one of those bracket lines. That'll be pretty special. And I have a feeling that you're going to get things moving towards those days. What would you like to share, Aaron, with those tuning into the QCast, those from Division III Hoops Nation out there that are tuning in today?
Yeah, just appreciate all the support that you and D3 Hoops and everybody gives to our student athletes. It's unique, and it's grown so much in the last 10 years. We had Division III, D3Hoops.com when I was playing, but that was kind of the extent of it. And these student athletes deserve all the recognition and all the talk about them, because they're special. The guys here at Hartford, but throughout the country, the D3 athletes are unique and put a lot of time and effort into what they do. And all the coaches out there, myself included, are incredibly grateful for what you do, and the opportunity that you give to our athletes to kind of get their names out there and get recognized for all the hard work they put in. So appreciate all the love for D3 Hoops out there.
Yeah, there's a lot of it now. You've got the OG Dave McHugh, Hoopsville. He'll be cranking it up. You got everything that's happening at D3Hoops.com and that crew. You got D3 Datacast guys that are cranking out awesome stuff. You got the tournament, like Great Lakes Invitational, that Ryan Whitnable's running. So there's a lot of D3 Direct with Carl Barkley. You have a lot of fun stuff happening in D3, and so appreciate that, Aaron. And folks, that is the QCast Season 4, Episode 3. Aaron Toomey is getting after it at the University of Hartford, Year 1 in Division III coming up for the Hawks. And Aaron, we wish you the best of luck, and I appreciate all your time today.
Thanks, Bob. Thanks for having me. Go Hawks.
Thank you.